in December, we tried it.
Welcome back to another episode of A Day in a Sports Life. I'm your host, Dejan King. The NFL season is back. And to kick things off, last night we started off with the defending Super Bowl champion, Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles took on the Dallas Cowboys in a marquee rivalry matchup between these two teams. These teams hate each other, and this is one of the most decorated rivalries in the NFL. When you get the Eagles and Cowboys playing against each other, I'm telling you, all NFL fans are watching. And last night was nothing shy of a masterclass performance. Some weather delays stalled the game late, but overall, for a week one matchup, it was pretty good on both sides of the ball. And both teams came to play. Now, to start the season off, we did start it off with a very controversial incident that happened between Jalen Carter and Dak Prescott. It seems on video, Jalen Carter ended up spitting on Dak, and we caught that in 4K. It resulted in him receiving multiple personal fouls and getting ejected from the game before it even started. And that proved to be a pivotal mistake, and one that I would say affected the way the Eagles played defense versus the Cowboys and trying to contain Dak Prescott throughout the game. And the final score was 24-20. Eagles won. It wasn't the prettiest performance that they put up, but they did win. And when you're working with a win instead of a loss, it's easier to correct mistakes in the film room. So shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles for capturing the win in their week one game versus the Dallas Cowboys. But to shed some light on some of the positives for both teams, let's start off with the Dallas Cowboys. Returning is Dak Prescott. He sustained a hamstring injury early on last year, missed the remaining 9 games of the season, but coming back, he looked pretty impressive. He finished with 21 of 34, 188 yards passing, no passing touchdowns, but if you really paid attention to him throughout the entire game, each drive, he showed that he was very poised in the pocket. Now, Dak displayed sharp, anticipatory decision-making in the pocket. He saw plays develop and he stayed composed and made the right throws. His main guy, CeeDee Lamb, had 7 receptions, 110 yards receiving. But late in the game, you see Dak, he showed his telescopic abilities to find receivers down the field, one being CeeDee Lamb. And with the score being 24-20, Dak was looking for CeeDee to make those catches, and he just wasn't able to bring it in. He dropped a post route, which could have been a big game getting them in the red zone. And on 4th down with the game on the line, CeeDee Lamb was not able to maintain a catch on a go route. He extended wide to make the catch, but he just wasn't able to bring it in. And I know a lot of people in the comment section of social media is just ripping CeeDee Lamb apart because of those drops, which were crucial and also played a factor in why the Dallas Cowboys lost. But you got to give him credit because he was the main receiver on this team. 7 receptions, like I said, on 13 targets, but he had 110 yards receiving. His counterpart, which is George Pickens, he showed up. He had 3 receptions, 30 yards, but I think what we can see develop in this season that these two number one receivers or a 1A, 1B is going to really cause some confusion and just really cause, I would say, allow Dak Prescott to have the opportunity to have multiple weapons on the field to help out the Cowboys. Now, when you look at this game, other than the receivers, one big key positive for the Cowboys offense too is Javonte Williams. He had 15 carries, 54 yards, 2 touchdowns, and it surprised a lot of people. I'm pretty sure these fantasy owners of Javonte Williams are going to be really happy with him if he's going to be able to continue stacking up these touchdowns each game of the weeks. But his counterpart, his second string running back who takes some of the reps from him, his name is Miles Sanders. He's the second string running back of the Cowboys. He had a big 49-yard rush. I would say it was the 4th quarter, and you got to give it to Zach Bond for chasing him down. It was a touchdown saving tackle And if he didn't stop him, the Cowboys would be up 27-24 going into a lightning delay. But instead, he got the tackle and forced the Cowboys to try to score in the red zone. And what happened is that sometimes you have positives and you have negatives for Miles Sanders. He had both. He had a 49 rushing game, and then he turned around and had a fumble that was crucial. Quinyon Mitchell scooped it up. Dak Prescott, another touchdown saving tackle. And right after that, we went into a break, which I would say hindered some of the momentum that both teams had, especially the Cowboys. For the Eagles coming out of the break, it seemed like their strategy was to just make sure the Cowboys didn't get the ball back. They try to maintain the drive, maintain the possessions, but I will say that is when the defenses showed up to play, was after the lightning delay, and it showed. It was pivotal. Some of the keys, the pros on the Philadelphia Eagles side is most certainly Jalen Hurts. I mean, his athletic prowess is exhibited in this game. This man went for 14 carries, 62 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Saquon Barkley, the rushing king of last year, he went for 11 carries, 60 yards, and 1 touchdown. Philly finished with a total of 158 yards rushing. Now, one thing we did see was that they did quality control some of Saquon Barkley's reps and just snaps on the field. And I think that's just to preserve his health throughout this season, which is very long. As everyone knows, the NFL is now a 17-game schedule as opposed to being 16 games just a couple years ago. And in order to sustain your players' health, you're going to need a depth chart. You're going to need some backups to really take off the load for them. And for the Eagles, the backups are Will Shipley, and they also have another running back as well in A.J. Dillon. So when you look at the Eagles, this is a very stacked roster on both sides of the ball. Losing Jalen Carter, which seems like you're going to lose him for multiple games for spitting on a player, that's going to hurt the Eagles in the long haul. And as of right now, the Eagles getting this W, they're 1-0. They're 1-0 in the division. And when you look at both the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles' upcoming games, it is a pretty hard schedule. For the Eagles, week 2, they're headed to Kansas City Chiefs to take on their Super Bowl counterpart, which is the Chiefs. This will be a Super Bowl rematch. And then just to remind everybody, the Chiefs and the Eagles played in the Super Bowl twice. They have a 1-1 record. So this is starting to develop into a rivalry between these two teams, something like the Patriots versus the Giants or the Steelers versus the Dallas Cowboys. It seems when you have these two teams playing on the football field at the same time against one another, we're in for a classic. And I'm pretty sure week 2, both teams are going to be handed to one another, especially being in Kansas City. I'm pretty sure that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to try to get their rematch. They're going to try to get back, get one win up on the Eagles and get them to at least 1-1. The Chiefs are playing tonight versus the Chargers in their opening kickoff game, which will be in Brazil. So I know a lot of people are excited for that matchup as well. The next game that the Philadelphia Eagles have on the schedule, week 3, is versus the Rams. That is another playoff rematch. Last year it was a divisional round matchup between these two foes. It was a snowy game, and it was a good one too for the Rams. I mean, Saquon Barkley ran crazy on them, but the Rams showed that they were actually a formidable foe, a team that can compete with the Eagles, and they almost won, but they came up short. And then week 4, the Eagles head over to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers. That is going to be a good game as well. So that's the Eagles' next 3 opponents. It's the Chiefs, Rams, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. For the Dallas Cowboys, week 2, they host their rivals, the New York Giants. So this is an opportunity for the Cowboys to get into the win column, get to 1-1 at 500. And they're taking on a team that they have figured out how to beat rather easily. I mean, when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants playing each other as of late, even prior to Daniel Jones being the quarterback, Eli Manning, it seems that the Cowboys have always found a way to have the Giants' number. So they're looking to take advantage of on another divisional opponent and get their record of 1-1. After week 2, week 3, they're headed to Chicago to take on the Chicago Bears. This matchup right here is one. It's going to be in Chicago. I think it's going to be a pretty even matchup. You have a young Chicago team taking on the Dallas Cowboys, who is missing Micah Parsons. And we'll see what happens. And then week 4, they have another NFC North matchup taking on the Green Bay Packers. This one is a game that you cannot miss. Micah Parsons recently got traded to the Green Bay Packers. He's going to be playing against his former team, and it's going to be right there in A&T Stadium. This right here is going to be an amazing matchup on Sunday Night Football. So week 4, mark it on your calendars. Dallas Cowboys versus the Green Bay Packers. It's going to be a good one. For our next topic, we're going to talk about, is the Philadelphia Eagles able to actually two-peat? Now, you got to ask yourself this. Now, Eagles starting off the season 1-0. Are they able to actually win the Super Bowl back-to-back? That's a big question right here. Is it possible? It is possible, but you got to take into account the Philadelphia Eagles schedule. I mean, this team has a very challenging schedule. They play against 10 teams that have made it to the playoffs last year. Those teams being the Chiefs, Rams, Buccaneers, Broncos, Vikings, Packers, Lions, Chargers, Commanders twice, and the Buffalo Bills. So if this Philadelphia team wants to even make it to the playoffs, they have to go through this rigorous gauntlet of a schedule just to even make it to the wild card, let alone win their division. That is already going to be hard, counting that you have the Commanders who faced off against you in the NFC Championship game last year. This time around, they're going to be playing them in the regular season twice. So it's going to be a really challenging schedule for the Philadelphia Eagles. Do I think they can two-peat? I think it's possible, but first we have to see how they play in the regular season. And so far, they're 1-0. They have 16 games left to try to make it to the playoffs, and they already got an edge on the next 31 teams. Now, let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. This team has a record right now, 7 consecutive AFC Championship appearances since 2018. Second to the Patriots, 8 consecutive trips to the AFC Championship. The Chiefs are 5-2 with Patrick Mahomes in these games. And their only losses are to the Patriots in 2019 and the Bengals in 2022. Now, when it comes to who can dethrone the Chiefs, I have 4 teams that I believe can actually do it. Now, this is going to be hard, all right? This is going to be real hard. The teams that I have that I think could dethrone the Chiefs this year are the Ravens, Bills, Texans, Bengals, and then I also have a 5th team, which would be the Miami Dolphins as well. But the reasons why I believe the Ravens can dethrone them, you gotta remember that these two teams play each other already in the playoffs, and they play very competitive versus one another, whether it's the regular season or the playoffs. You gotta see it. The thing with this Ravens defense is that it's top 5 in the NFL. And then you also have Lamar Jackson on the opposite side of the ball, who is a dual threat quarterback. And he's paired in the backfield with Derrick Henry, a 2,000-yard rusher. They have some new additions as well as DeAndre Hopkins. They also have Jair Alexander on the defensive side. When you think about some weaknesses, you got to shed some light on this wide receiving core. I mean, they missed Zay Flowers last year in the playoffs in a pivotal matchup versus the Bills. And one thing that they need to overcome this year is just making mistakes. Lamar Jackson, whether it's him throwing an interception at a crucial point in the game or just dropping passes when you need points. And Mark Andrews, who dropped a 2-point conversion last year, which ended up losing them the game in the divisional round to the Bills. I feel like this Ravens team has it. They're capable, but they need to be consistent. The next team that I have is the Buffalo Bills. Now, I think the Buffalo Bills are a really phenomenal team. They have MVP Josh Allen returning, and he really has an uncapped ceiling. They have a new revamped O-line as well, and I think that this Bills team is going to be competing. They're going to be headhunting, and they can't wait to play against this Chiefs team. When you think about the Bills and the Chiefs, this right here is an NFL rivalry that extends beyond the regular season into the playoffs because no teams have played each other the amount of times that the Bills and Chiefs had. We're talking about 4 crucial matchups in the playoffs, okay? And they've all favored the Chiefs. The Chiefs are 4-0 when it comes to playing against the Bills. So if you're the Bills, I feel like it's very demoralizing to be 0-4 versus one specific team in the playoffs, especially when we're talking about you playing this team twice in the AFC Championship game to get to the Super Bowl versus teams on the NFC you can possibly beat. So if you're a Bills fan, you have to be frustrated with the amount of times you lose to the Chiefs. Their first loss coming in 2020 in the AFC Championship game, 38-24. And then 2021, 42-36 in overtime. I mean, come on, this is insane. 44 yards on 3 plays and 13 seconds to set up a game-tying field goal. All you had to do was get a stop in 13 seconds, and you're going on to the AFC Championship game. The Bills can't even do it. I mean, it's very disappointing. Out of all these teams I'm mentioning, the Bills, I'm pretty sure, is the most disappointing team when it comes to facing against the Chiefs. And their next loss is 2024. Bass misses a field goal. Disappointing. 27-24. Then last year in the conference championship game, 32-29, the Bills lose. You could say their weaknesses is their wide receiver depth and their inability to beat the Chiefs, but we will see this year if they're able to correct all their mishaps and just advance beyond where they are, where they're very capable of making it to the Super Bowl. So we will see if the Bills can do it. The Texans are the next team that I think can compete. When you think about the Ravens, Bills, and Texans and Chiefs, these 4 teams have made it to the divisional round, the final 4 teams in the AFC, the last 2 playoffs. Nobody else. There's 16 teams in the playoffs. And you're telling me 4 teams have made it to the AFC divisional round, the last 2 playoffs? For the other 12 teams, that's very disappointing. And for the Texans, this team is very young. They're not one of the youngest teams, but their average age is 27 years old. And one thing that's leading this team is their explosive offense that's led by CJ Stroud and Nico Collins. They also have some new additions like Nick Chubb, who will be getting his start in a Texans uniform on Sunday. And they also added Christian Kirk, who's a pretty decent wide receiver. Now, the beauty of this team is that they have a lot of offensive weapons. Like I said, Joe Mixon, he's another running back, their starting running back, who's actually going to be out for a couple of weeks. They put him on IR, dealing with some injuries. There's just so many weapons that CJ Stroud can use to dissect defenses and to score touchdowns or just get in position to score points. And if you're a Texans fan, you got to be happy. You got to be very optimistic about your opportunity and your chances this season. And so I really think that this Texans team has the capabilities of getting past the divisional round, getting to the AFC Championship game for the first time ever, which is crazy to say, but I think the Texans are more than capable of making it to the AFC Championship game. This is another team that I'm very fond of. The final 2 teams that I have that are possibly able to dethrone the Chiefs are the Miami Dolphins and Cincinnati Bengals. Some of the reasons that I think that the Miami Dolphins are capable of dethroning the Chiefs is because they really have a fun offense. They have an offense that is very athletic, very explosive, and it all starts off with their quarterback, Tua. One thing that Tua has that's a con of his is that his injuries. He's not able to stay healthy consistently, but when he is healthy, he is a winning quarterback. He's able to make the plays, make the throws, and win in clutch scenarios. He shows it time and time again. But like I said, he has to stay healthy for this Miami Dolphins team. This team is led by the head coach Mike McDaniels, who is an intelligent offensive mind, and he loves Tua. He rides with him, and this offense that he sets up for Tua to succeed shows that he wants to win with this quarterback. Um, Tua's record last year was 6-5 while he played. When he didn't play, the Miami Dolphins lost a lot, and they missed him. As you can see, there was a hindrance on that offensive side. On the defensive side, they got some more reinforcements. They got a first-round draft pick in Chop Robinson, and he's able to be paired up with Zach Saylor, who is a back-to-back 10-sack season guy. So I know the Dolphins love Zach. And I know Zach's happy that he has Chop Robinson next to him. And he's also happy that he gets Jalen Phillips back too. So let's see if this Dolphins defense can stay healthy, because if they can pair up with this explosive offense, the Dolphins could make the playoffs, and also they could win the AFC East for the first time in a while. Now, the biggest key accusation for the Miami Dolphins is the return of their 2018 first round pick. His name is Minkah Fitzpatrick. He's back in the Miami Dolphins uniform, and I know Dolphins fans are excited. I know they were so excited when they got the news that Minkah's coming back, and he really is going to be a key addition to this defense and a key addition to this Miami Dolphins team. So I can see the Dolphins winning a minimum of 10 games this year and competing for the division with the Bills, Patriots, and Jets. The key factor for the Dolphins is they have to stay healthy. If the Dolphins can stay healthy, they will be lethal. They will be dangerous. Mark my words. The next team that we have is the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals, this is one of those teams that if everything falls, the chips fall in the right place, the right order, if everything's copacetic for the Cincinnati Bengals, then we're talking about a Super Bowl team that's competing for a Super Bowl. That's the Bengals, okay? That's what I like about them, is that their offense is so electric. It's led with Jamar Chase. They have T. Higgins, and they have this perennial offensive quarterback in Joe Burrow, who is just able to dissect the defense, able to make key throws here and there. I mean, he's a really incredible quarterback. And if everybody stays healthy, if they're able to actually acquire defensive pieces to help them on the defensive side, this team could compete every year for an AFC championship. But they have to do things in the right order. They have to get this defense right. And they did it this year by getting a first round project, but we'll see if he actually works out for them. We'll see if this Cincinnati Bengals team can actually compete, if they can actually do everything right. I mean, that's a good team right there, man. And I'm excited to see who could possibly dethrone the Chiefs. I mean, it needs to happen, man. It needs to, because the Chiefs been going on this tirade, man. They've been creating this new wave. Now, my next topic I want to talk about is potential QB sophomore slumps and why. Now, the quarterbacks that I have listed here, I have Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, and JJ McCarthy. Now, these 5 quarterbacks were the rookie quarterbacks taken last year, and they're going into their second year as an NFL starting quarterback. For quarterbacks like Michael Penix, this will be his first year officially being the starter, and it will be JJ McCarthy's first game he'll be able to play on Monday. Now, here are the reasons why I believe these players can succeed, and also how they can possibly have slumps. Obviously, the pressure is going to be on them. The lights, the cameras, actions, everything is going to be shine bright on these players. I mean, starting off with Bo Nix, he has a tough schedule with the Broncos. They have 7 playoff teams that they'll be playing this year. And They play in the AFC West division, which has the Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders. Playing these teams twice a year, 6 games. If you can't come and show up and play against these opponents, you could find yourself 2-4 and maybe a ceiling being 3-3. So for this Broncos team to make the playoffs last year, first time in a lot of years, this is going to be a tough schedule for them, playing against 7 former playoff teams. And we'll see if the Broncos can keep it up. We'll see if they can take the momentum they had last year and translate it into this new year. The next quarterback that I want to talk about is Jaden Daniels. This guy right here is phenomenal. When you think of Jaden Daniels, you think of a rookie offensive player of the year. Um, This man right here is amazing. I know his team loves him. He's a leader. And the biggest thing about Jaden Daniels is that he's very stoic. He's able to sustain a level of equanimity, just keep his composure in the light of danger, overcoming adversity when he needs to. And he was able to propel this Commanders team to the NFC Championship game, their first appearance since 1991, and it was their first playoff win since 2005. Ironically, versus the Buccaneers. Um, this team is so capable, and they're so young. And with this new improved offensive line, they actually picked up Laramie Tunsil as a left tackle for them. They also drafted Josh Connerly Jr. with their first round pick, the 29th pick of this draft. So it shows that they want to protect Jaden Daniels. They know he's their key cornerstone on this offense and on this team. He's their franchise quarterback. Everything starts with him. So the sky's the limit for this team. I'm a Giants fan, so I'm a little bit jealous that we were able to land him. But just seeing this young black quarterback thrive in the NFL, I'm just very impressed. I commend his talents, his athletic prowess, and just his ability to keep his composure. I think is the number one asset to Jaden Daniels. And for any quarterback who wants to succeed, they gotta admire what Jaden does, because to succeed in life, you have to keep your composure. You have to sustain a level of equanimity. And if you can't, you're gonna lose in situations. You're gonna lose things that are key to you, that are valuable, maybe even opportunities, people, friendships. And Jaden Daniels, he has that down packed. He knows how to overcome adversity. He knows how to stay still, stay quiet in the heat of danger. The next quarterback is Caleb Williams, the man who was drafted right before Jaden Daniels, who didn't perform as well as he did, but had a decent rookie season. Now, with Caleb Williams, he has a new head coach this year. When you look at last year statistically, he went 20 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. And the biggest thing for him is can he propel this offense and lead the Bears back to the playoffs? Now, he's still young. He still needs to mature and become a leader, a vocal leader. And he has a lot of young weapons on this team. DJ Moore, Roma Doomsday, the second round draft pick in Luther Burden, and their running back, DeAndre Swift. And they've also drafted a first round tight end who I think when you look at this team and the way that they're constructed, it's to win, it's to score a lot of points. And I think Caleb Williams going forward is able to unlock the keys to success on the offensive side. And I think they're going to be putting up a lot of points in these upcoming seasons. They start the season off with the Vikings, and that's going to be a fun game. I mean, when you think about the Vikings, that's our next quarterback. We got JJ McCarthy. He has his first career start versus the Bears. It's going to be on the road. Last year, he tore his meniscus, missing the entire season, but he's back. And I know this quarterback is ready to perform. He's ready to play. The coach is behind him, the team's behind him, and it's his opportunity to show what he's capable of. The jury's still out on if he's the Vikings franchise quarterback. We'll see. We'll definitely see. Some key acquisitions on this team is D tackle Jonathan Allen. and Javon Hargrave. They've also re-signed Byron Murphy to a 3-year contract. So this Vikings team is really constructing a team that can win now still. As you see what they did last year with Sam Darnold. I mean, when you got a receiver like Jay Jettas, Justin Jefferson, and then Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson as your tight end, there's just no way that you cannot succeed passing the ball and also having Aaron Jones in the backfield. So this team has it. They're capable. And it's time for JJ McCarthy to step up in his second year, which truly is his rookie year. Basically, it's red shirt year as a NFL quarterback. The last quarterback I want to talk about is Michael Penix. He actually got his start late last year, replacing Kirk Cousins, and he was very impressive. I think if you're a Falcons fan, you are very optimistic about what he can do as an offensive quarterback. Um, he's very young, but mature in a way that he came out of college at a older age than usual, but he still is young in the NFL. And I mean, seeing what he's able to do last year with the pieces, the assets that he has, I think that he can translate that success, translate that optimism and just, I would say, confidence he showed and exhibited on the field into this new season. Some young core pieces that he has is Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Michael Pitts. But the cons with this team is their inconsistencies on the offense and defensive side, able to muster up consecutive drives to score touchdowns as opposed to field goals, and to even just make field goals conversions, scoring consistently. That's huge for them. We still don't know if Michael Penix is the guy, but we'll see. I mean, it's his second year, and his first test this year is Sunday versus the Buccaneers at home. So we'll see if Michael Penix can do it. I mean, these 5 quarterbacks, they have it. This is one of the best productive draft classes for quarterbacks in a while, and I don't think it's too far the stretch of imagination to think that one of these quarterbacks is capable of winning a Super Bowl or getting to a Super Bowl. Now think about it. Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, both made it to the playoffs. And Jaden Daniels went to the NFC Championship game. I think one of these quarterbacks can make it to the Super Bowl and possibly be a Super Bowl champion. But we'll see. We'll definitely see. There have been some big key free agency acquisitions throughout the NFL. A lot of teams changing the trajectory of their offense or defense just to better improve and compete this year. Number one, starting off, we have Sam Darnold going from the Vikings to the Seahawks. That is very intriguing. Another one, we have Milton Williams. He's going from the Eagles. And he's now signed to the New England Patriots. So he's going to help out that defensive line right there. When the Patriots were very busy this offseason, they actually went out and acquired Stephon Diggs to help out this receiving core that is non-existent. So if Stephon Diggs can stay healthy, I think this Patriots team is going to really love him as their number one receiver because he shows that he is very capable, very athletic receiver, acrobatic receiver too, who can make plays. He showed it his career with the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. He also showed a couple hints at it with the Houston Texans as well. Another player is Paulson Adebo, Saints cornerback, as he got picked up in free agency by the New York Giants. So the Giants need themselves a number one DB to take the pressure off of Deontay Banks, giving him the job to face off against wide receiver 2s as opposed to wide receiver 1s. Next, we have Devontae Adams. He's going from the Jets to the Rams. Justin Fields from the Steelers to the Jets. And then Aaron Rodgers from the Jets to the Steelers. And then the biggest one of them all, the second biggest one of them all, is Cam Ward, the first round draft pick, getting drafted by the not Houston Oilers, by the Tennessee Titans. This one right here, the question mark is, can Cam Ward be the franchise quarterback for the Titans? They haven't had a franchise quarterback in a while. I mean, we're talking about before it even was the Tennessee Titans, maybe even the Houston Oilers. But this team, they need it. They truly do. I mean, this is a young team that everything's gonna start falling in order behind Cam Ward and the trajectory he's able to take this team into, which direction he can take them into. And it all starts on Sunday versus the Denver Broncos. The biggest acquisition, the biggest transaction all offseason prior to week one is the breaking news that Micah Parsons is traded from the Cowboys to the Green Bay Packers. This is one of those blockbuster trades that is going to change both teams, like I said, trajectory, whichever way. I mean, for the Cowboys, they weren't really able to create as much pressure last night. So we're seeing in real time the lingering effects of Micah Parsons being traded from the Cowboys to the Packers. Not their inability to create pressure, get sacks, and stop the Eagles last night. I mean, both teams were just scoring back and forth early on before the delays. That's going to be something they have to fix. I mean, acquiring Kenny Clark and 2 first-round draft picks, which is going to show up in the latter end. But Kenny Clark, he made some plays on the defense, but not the plays that Micah Parsons can and most likely will do for the Green Bay Packers. This Packers team, I mean, I would give up 2 first-round draft picks to acquire an asset like Micah Parsons too. So seeing them make this move, make this bold decision to acquire a player like him, an all-pro, perennial defensive end like Parsons, that's going to be one of the key deciding factors to if this Green Bay Packers team can actually make a NFC Championship run, Super Bowl run, or if they're just going to be stalemate, losing in the wild card round again. So we're going to see what this Packers team can do. I'm very excited to see what they can do. And their huge test, their first test is week 1 Sunday versus the Detroit Lions at home. One of the biggest stories this offseason is Shedeur Sanders. Now, Shedeur Sanders played at Colorado. He finished with a 13-12 record playing with this team in 2 seasons. And his resume, it showed that he might be a first-round draft pick. A lot of people expected him to be a top 2 quarterback selected behind Cam Ward. There were some that even said he might even go before Cam Ward. Some speculations he could go to New York. Um, Cleveland Browns could draft him early on. There was just a lot of speculation that this quarterback was going to be going early in the draft. He's a very cocky player, but I mean, you can say cocky, you can say confident. I believe he's more of a confident player who believes in his capabilities, who believes in what he can do on the field. And he's learned that from his Hall of Fame dad and Deion Sanders. But this guy fell in the draft, and that's one of the biggest stories because he went from potentially playing in this week 1 weekend to possibly not even playing at all this season. And who knows what's going to happen with his career. Um, he fell to the 5th round, selected 144th by the Cleveland Browns, who already drafted Dylan Gabriel. I mean, the disrespect. Um, is this something where under the table the GMs all talk to one another to negotiate? All right, let's all work together in cahoots to make him slip in the draft. So put him in his place because we don't like his character. Is it something about his character or is it actually his athletic abilities? Because if so, I mean, I don't know. I think when you look at what he did in the preseason, going 14 of 23, 2 touchdowns versus the Carolina Panthers. I mean, he showed that he's capable. Even though it was preseason, he's playing against 2s, 3s, and 4s, and people who are going to probably be golfing or having another occupational endeavor later in their lives or today. He still showed that he's capable of making plays. So I'm so confused on why Shedeur Sanders fell to where he fell and why he's in the position he's in right now. Is it disrespect or is it just them showing what his value is? I mean, it's very sad, but to the ones that say he's not that good, you can say, all right, second preseason performance was god awful. It was a horrible performance. Uh, this man went 3 of 6, 14 passing yards, and he was sacked 6 times for a total of 50 yards. And when you look at the film, a lot of the sacks, it was 50-50 between the line and between his decision making. He's holding the ball too long. He's not getting it out of his hand, and it's resulting in sacks. The first 5 drives, starting the second half, this man went 4 straight 3-and-outs, 5 punting drives total. Him being on the field, he had 1 drive that was for 5 plays, and it ended in a receiver dropping a ball that was slightly behind him. So it's unfortunate to see what's happening so far early in his career, but you got to remember, it's so early in his football career that he still has an opportunity to get on a team, to be a franchise quarterback. I mean, look at players like Geno Smith, Sam Darnold. There's so much potential in him, and it's still not being noticed. It's not being displayed on the field because he's going to be sitting. I think the best thing possibly to do is if a team truly wants Shedeur, if they do, call the Cleveland Browns, get on the phone with them, and make a deal. I would love to see this guy in the field. I would love to see this storyline play out. I want to see Shedeur play. When it comes to the NFC side of the NFL, I have 4 contenders. We've talked about the Eagles and the road that they have ahead. I mean, playing against 10 teams that played in the playoffs last year, it's going to be hard for them to win a lot of games. But if they do, it's going to show that this team is dominant. If they can leave those 10 games, which is actually 11 games, with a winning record. And if they do it, I mean, the Eagles, that 2P might actually be possible. The other 3 teams that I have in the NFC that I think can compete, for one, is the Packers, Lions 2, and Commanders 3. All 3 of these teams making it to the playoffs last year. Packers losing in the wild card to the Eagles. Commanders in the NFC Championship game to the Eagles. And then the Lions in the divisional round as the number 1 seed. Ooh, they lost 45-31 to the Commanders. Completely embarrassed at home, right there at Ford Field. I mean, you look at the acquisitions that the Packers made. They got Micah Parsons, the newest addition. The biggest thing to me, besides Micah Parsons, is Jordan Love's ability to win. I mean, his record's not that pretty. It's 18-15, but he's able to make it to the playoffs 2 times. Back-to-back seasons, both seasons, him being the actual definitive starter for the Packers. He learned a lot from Aaron Rodgers, and it shows. Now, their record with Jordan Love is 1-2 in the playoffs, and the first win was actually the blowout victory over the Cowboys. I think the Packers are capable. I think they can win. And I think this year they're going to make it to the playoffs once again. A team that's also in their division in the NFC North is the Lions. This is another team that I think has shown the past 2 seasons that they're able to win in the playoffs. For their first season making it back to the playoffs, they went with their team, and they were able to make it to the NFC Championship game, losing a large lead to the 49ers and inevitably losing to them. This team averaged 33.2 points a game last year. 2 games, they put up 50 points. 52-14 win over the Titans. 52-6 win over the Jaguars, and also a dominant victory, 47-9 over the Dallas Cowboys. Inevitably, they lost to the Commanders in the playoffs, but I still think this team is competitive. I still think this team is more than capable of making a run. And there's a hint. I actually think this team is more than capable. I think this team could possibly make a Super Bowl, but we'll get to my Super Bowl prediction later on in the show. Our next topic that we'll talk about is going to be the coach's hot seat. So stay tuned. We're only getting started.
Be with the bros and you know be mobbing. Had to cut ties in December, we tried it.
Which coaches are on the hot seat? I'm going to talk about two coaches that I believe this is a crucial season for them. The two are Brian Dable and Mike McDaniel. Now, I think Brian Dable is number one. Like, his seat is hot. His butt's burning. This is his fourth season with the New York Giants. He's 18-32-1. He finished last year's campaign 3-14, and he failed to win with Daniel Jones. He went to the playoffs in his first year with Daniel Jones, winning a playoff game versus the Vikings, who are a really good team. But after that, his record was horrible. Okay? We're talking about horrible. I mean, total winning 18 games and then 32 losses with a tie. That is just god awful. And you see that John Mara is trying to be patient. He doesn't want to go on this coaching carousel of just every year. It's just a pattern, multiple years, 2 seasons they fail, pick up a new head coach and GM. He wants to see this team succeed. He wants to see Brian Dable and Joe Shane succeed. So he keeps them. This is his 4th season. They draft their first round quarterback in Jackson Dart and first round receiver in League Neighbors, this should be the pair going forward. And when you look at Jackson Dart, what he did in the preseason, this guy went 32 of 47, 372 yards, 3 touchdowns, 52 rushing yards, 1 touchdown, and he had a very, very promising performance. And if you're Giants fans, you are very optimistic, and you like that we selected Jackson Dart in the first round and possibly our franchise quarterback to come. The other one that is on the hot seat is Mike McDaniels. It's time to win a playoff game. I mean, this Dolphins team has not won a playoff game in 25 years. That's it. That's all we got to say about this team and this coach. It's just win. Just win. Like, I don't care about anything else with this team. You have the team that's more than capable. You have the team that can do it. You're the coach. You got to mature. You got to switch the tide. Stop being a friend. Stop being friendly with this team and actually be mature leader that can lead them to winning playoffs regardless who's the quarterback, because we don't even know if Tua is going to be available late in the year. You got to prepare for if Tua's not there. Stop letting everything ride on him as the quarterback, because he's shown time and time again he's going to miss games. But it's time to win in the playoffs. If you make it to the wild card, win the division. Just win. And if you can't win, unfortunately, you're going to get fired. That's all I gotta say about Mike Daniels is you gotta win. I think he's a good coach. I think he's a good offensive mind, but there's a differentiation between being an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and being a head coach, being to actually able to be a leader, leading the entire 53-man roster, commanding the ship when there's tides, when there's a lot of storms that you gotta weather. There's just a lot of adversity that you have to face. The question is, can Mike McDaniels, can Brian Dable actually win? Can they win? That's it. That's what these two coaches have to do. That's the coach's hot seat. All right, for my final segment, we're going to talk about this weekend. 2 games I'm going to leave off. I'm going to leave off the Eagles and Cowboys. They've already played. Eagles won 24-20. And right now, the Chiefs are taking on the Chargers. So we will not talk about those games, as this episode will probably come out later on this Friday evening or even Saturday morning. Who knows? But this weekend's picks for Sunday and Monday, it's going to be rapid. 1 minute, we're going to be shouting these out, man. I'm going to tell you my picks. And if you're watching this episode before Sunday's games, I mean, I'm just saying you can possibly put this on a parlay and win yourself some money. But you got to pick right. Don't pick every single game I'm picking, because there's some upsets I have. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but we'll see. We'll tally up the votes possibly next episode. The wins that I have starting off with our 1 p.m. clock, our 1 p.m. window, we have the Cardinals over the Saints. I got the Raiders over the Patriots, Dolphins over the Colts, Steelers over the Jets, Giants upsetting the Commanders, Jaguars over the Panthers, Bengals over the Browns, Buccaneers will defeat the Falcons, Seahawks over the 49ers in our 4 o'clock window, Broncos over the Titans, Lions over the Packers, Texans over the Rams, Bills will win over the Ravens in Sunday Night Football, and we will round it out with a Bears victory in Week 1 over the Vikings. That is my weekend picks right there. You have to rewind them just to go back through. I went through fast. That's what I think is going to happen this weekend. One of my key upsets is the Giants over the Commanders. I'm very confident in my team this year. I'm not going to pick them every week to win, but I think we can start off 1-0 this year over the Commanders. We'll see. Now, lastly, we got to give our Super Bowl predictions. I went ahead and I wrote down 2 teams that I think, 2 games that I think could happen. And I'll tell you which one I think will happen the most. But these are my 4 teams that I think will be battling for a Super Bowl. The 2 on the AFC side is the Ravens and Bills. On the NFC side, it's the Lions and the Packers. The game that I think is going to be played in the Super Bowl next year in February is going to be the Ravens versus the Lions. And the team that I have winning the 2025-2026 Super Bowl is the Baltimore Ravens. I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens. I'm going with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. I think the Bills, this might be the Bills' year, but I'm leaning over towards the Ravens side. I think the Ravens will get it done. And if you're a Ravens fan, you got to be excited for this year because, man, it's happening. This is the year the Ravens will win the Super Bowl. They'll win their 3rd Super Bowl, and they'll be 3-0, undefeated. That is my Super Bowl pick. Ravens versus the Lions, and they defeat them. Do I know the score? Hell no. But we'll see what happens. And I just want to say thank you for tuning in to another episode of A Day in a Sports Life. This NFL season is going to be amazing. I think if you're a football fan, you're excited. The way that this committee has rearranged these schedules, it's insane the amount of football we're getting on a plethora of platforms. I mean, it sucks. You got to pay a lot of money to watch football, but it's going to be fun, man. Everyone's going to be enjoying themselves, and I hope that everyone bets responsibly and possibly wins. I hope everyone enjoys, and good luck to everyone's team, whoever you're voting for, especially the New York Giants. I hope we can do something this year. But I'm Dejan King, and this is A Day in a Sports Life. Have a nice weekend.
Be with the bros and you know we be mobbing. Had the katans in December, we tried it.